Welcome to the Manufacturing Money Room with host Tolani Lawson. Tolani is an experienced CFO who works with manufacturing businesses to bring clarity to their numbers, especially when cash feels tight and decisions feel heavy. These are the conversations that usually stay behind closed doors. Until now, it's time to step into the Manufacturing Money Room.
Welcome back to this episode of the Manufacturing Money Room. Today, I have Tiffany here with me. Tiffany is the president of Growth Mindset. It's a assembler training organization where she helps companies transform average sales teams into high-performing revenue engines. So with more than 25 years of sales and leadership experience, Tiffany is here with us to talk about what it means for high growth organization to be fully engaged in that growth mode. Tiffany is known as the personal trainer for sales organizations, diagnosing performance gaps before prescribing solutions, much like an MRI before, a physical therapy or something like that. So rather than just delivering motivational speeches or one size fits all trainings, she builds these habits and mindsets, accountability, and repeatable systems that create lasting behavioral changes within the organization. So, Tiffany, thank you for being here with us. I will let you.
Thank you. What a wonderful introduction. Yeah, look, at its core, I help people have more fun in their sales role. So they help more people and they make more money. So it's a win-win all around,
Wonderful. Love it. Make my money. Who doesn't love to make my money, right?
right?
Oh, yeah, that's awesome. So, Tiffany, I work with manufacturers and I have manufacturers listening to this program. These are, business owners, plant managers, or people that work and support manufacturing. What are some of those common themes that you see as you work with other manufacturers or other businesses in general? What are those common themes that you see in terms of things that hamper growth or things that, stop their growth, or what stops that momentum that a new business might be going through at any point in time?
So I grew up in manufacturing. I worked in manufacturing for many, many years. I was in packaging, the packaging space. And, one of the things that I saw, first of all, different areas of the business not being aligned. I mean, obviously, everybody has to be aligned. When operations is rowing one direction and the sales team is rowing a different direction, that's naturally going to create friction. So, one of the first things that has to happen is everybody needs to be aligned and clear, like, on the ideal client profile. So, I'll give you a for instance. One of the companies I was working with, their operations team, they were incentivized on speed and efficiency through the plant, which is great and makes a lot of sense until you realize they were making more money on the complex products that they were making. And so, just the nature of complexity, it doesn't align with speed and efficiency, right? But the margin and the profit was 3 times greater on the complex items. So even though it was slower through the plant. And so until we got aligned, on those areas that, hey, this is who we're targeting and here's why, like, it's okay. Now we're rowing in the same direction. So before, anything else, like everybody needs to be aligned and clear on here's our ideal client, here's our ideal product profile, our ideal client profile. So then, now when sales brings in the right opportunity, it's well received, open arms by the operations.
Absolutely. And this is something that is typically overlooked, especially in larger growing businesses, right? Because you start with that great momentum of sales growth as a young business. And then as you start to grow into the maturity stage, your business starts to get overly complex and then you lose visibility. These are things that we see, I feel like, in all areas of the organization, starting from the sales engine and going all the way through the production flow. I feel like it always starts out in that sales engine and then going through all the way to the production flow and how things get back to the consumers at the end of the day. And this all impacts profitability, one way or the other. So, what are those techniques that you see or you practice in terms of helping organizations navigate through these types of issues?
As salespeople, we have or need a lot of tools in the toolbox per se. But I want to take a step back, and I think probably the biggest, I want to say technique or concept that I train, and here I'll just share this with you. We call it the success triangle, but it's behavior, attitude, and technique. Think about anything you do. So, yes, this is, especially pertinent in a sales organization, but it's the same for any other, feat or goal that we have in mind. Like, we have to start with everything starts with action, right? You have to start with the behavior, the activity that's going to, the leading activities that lead to the lagging results, right? Oftentimes what I see companies do is they're measuring sales and revenue and margin, but those are the lagging results. So we need to measure what are the leading behaviors and leading indicators, right? A leading behavior would be, picking up the phone and making a call. What you can't control is whether somebody on the other end picks it up, right? You can control going to a networking meeting and actually doing the behavior, not working, but networking, right? And getting meetings, a lunch scheduled with a potential strategic partner. So those are the leading behaviors. Then the leading indicators would be, hey, I scheduled a conversation, right? Somebody has to accept that conversation or that meeting for it to be, that's why it's a leading indicator, which then we know, it's the math piece that lead to the lagging results eventually. So I just share that, think about if your goal is to run a marathon, right? The behaviors you have to do is, what's the first thing you would do if you decided you were going to run a marathon, Tolani?
I guess the first thing I have to do is get ready, get myself prepared, get myself mentally and physically ready, right?
Maybe it's buy a pair of running shoes.
That'll be a great first start,
Right?
right?
Yeah. Sign up for a marathon. So those are some of the behaviors. But to your point, yes, have now I start to run. So, the behavior piece is critical. But then, when you look at overall success, sometimes and I'm going to go back to the sales organization and prospecting in particular, if you walk into those conversations with the wrong mindset, right? Like, oh, and I mean, look, I've been in sales, like they don't want to hear from a salesperson. How do you think that person is perceived in that outreach?
If you don't come in with the right mindset and the right behavior, you don't want to be there. I feel like that's something that's going to be very transparent, right? That's something that it's just going to be seen immediately you walk through, immediately you walk in.
So the salesperson may be hesitant or doesn't want to bother them. I hear that a lot. That's the wrong mindset going into that conversation. So because the other person senses it, they can feel it. So my recommendation is what mindset does a successful person, like what mindset do they have going into that conversation? I would say this is going to be the best conversation they have all day. And I tell you, that is what I tell myself before every cold call I make. Like, no matter what, I don't care what the outcome is. So being emotionally neutral to the outcome, but focusing in on no matter what, it's going to be a great conversation.
It is going to be a great conversation. Yes.
Right? And so think about how that changes the whole dynamic of the conversation. Every time I walk in, very intentional about that mindset, it does. It changes the tone, and it's always a good call. It doesn't always lead where I want it to lead, but no matter what, hey, maybe it's just a strategic partner at some point, or maybe I'll always ask for an introduction, like, hey, I understand it's not a fit for you, but who else in your world might value a conversation with me?
Yeah, I feel like those are some of the things that I see every day as well, because like when margins start to deteriorate in an organization, it's not usually because someone forgot to do the accounting. It's because there's been a change in the leadership behavior months earlier, right? There's been a change in that attitude, in that behavior that is getting translated across the entire organization. And yeah.
Exactly. And then, I mean, there's the technique side. And this is a lot about your soft skills, your presence, like how you say things, sales and leadership. Look, it's fine edge, slight edge, just how we say things. We can disarm our people. We can either put them on the offense or we can disarm them with how we talk to them. And so some of that has to do with tonality, pacing, disc, right? There's a lot of soft skills in there that, I mean, are as applicable for leadership, as they are for salespeople. So, and that technique side, that can make a huge difference. So if they're doing the behaviors and they have the right mindset, then and they're still not getting the results that they want, then we can kind of figure out, okay, must be a technique issue. Let's work on that, the skills piece.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, love that. Thank you so much, Tiffany. I mean, bringing that all together, looking at that from a financial success standpoint, what I'm hearing, especially in that attitude section, is growth mindset, right? Ownership, confidence, long term thinking, that type of attitude, bringing that type of attitude into your organization and into your sales team and how you go out to market. Is that kind of what I'm hearing in summary there?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, conviction, confidence is everything. Like oftentimes, and I'll give you an example. One of the clients I worked with when I went in, they sold whole home water refiners. And I asked the sales team, there was about 20 people in the room, was like, how many of you have this system? And only 3 hands went up. So in my head, I'm like, well, they don't believe in their product. Like that's a conviction problem. So we needed to address that. So we just talked through like what can go wrong when you don't have this system. And we're here in North Texas and our water is terrible here. So we kind of walked through all of those things. And next session, I asked that question again and double the hands went up. So
Right.
I was like, okay, now they have the conviction around their product. What do you
Yeah.
think happened with their sales?
I'm guessing the sales went up, but what changed? What changed between the first time and the second time when you're asking that question? That is, are they investing more, or that's fascinating to see that complete change in the organization. Mm.
Yeah, it is. Well, I mean, look, think about anything you do, like how much of it would you attribute to having the right attitude or mindset?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
80%. So
Yeah.
that it's harder to see. Like you don't always see it if you don't know what to look for.
I love that. I'm going to have to use that BAT with my clients as well. Just even looking at it from a finance perspective, what type of attitude do you have? Do you have that fear of making new investments, or do you have the fear of hiring, fear of even being accountable to your people or to your business in general? And then in terms of behavior, are you following up on your KPIs as you set them for your folks? Are you making them accountable for that? And are you passing that behavior across the entire organization? Love it.
It's been impactful and it is amazing when you're firing on all 3 of those, like the change that you can see in an organization is really it's incredible.
If you would pick on something, what's one behavior that you feel like a CEO should absolutely start tomorrow to start making that change? I personally don't believe people are going to make milestone changes in a day, but if they wanted to pick one thing to start tomorrow, what will be that one thing? That's a
So
tough one, right?
it
One
is a
thing.
tough one. Well, have you ever read Atomic Habits by James Clear?
Love it. Yes.
It's such a great book. And, it's the
Mhm.
same concept, like just one change. You think about it, if a plane takes off 1 degree off in New York and they're landing in California, they're in a totally different state, different side of the country, right? It makes a big difference. One little change can make a huge, huge difference. So, the behavior, whatever your goal is, like for salespeople, I encourage them figure out what those fruitful activities are. For many, pick up the phone, find a strategic partner and start scheduling meetings or lunches with them. And if they're
Mhm.
calling into the same organizations that you are, then find a really solid strategic partner and go help them. Be a go-giver. The book Go Giver is fantastic, but like go give and the law of reciprocation means you will receive. By giving, you will
Yes.
receive. That's
I
not the
love
intention behind it. Shouldn't be the intention behind it. We should give without expectation. Give and you will receive,
Be a cheerful giver.
right? Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. Tiffany, this has been an incredible conversation. I think one of the biggest takeaways from this conversation is just that in order to get better financial results, because at the end of the day, we're doing this for financial results, the outcome starts with your behavior, your attitude, and then most importantly, your technique, right? The numbers on the income statement and the balance sheet, those are simply a scoreboard. But behind those numbers, they're the people, they're those, attitude and behaviors and everything else that you bring into the organization. As a CFO would say, things get measured when things get managed. So if
Yes.
that management does not exist, how do you measure how well what the organization is doing?
What's measured gets managed.
Yes.
100%. I,
Yep.
I love that. And do the behaviors and the results will follow. Like
Yes,
that's it. Let's
exactly.
focusing. I think sometimes we focus our attention in the wrong place. Like you can't do anything about the past because the results are what happened 6 months ago. So all we can do is focus on, within our locus of control today.
That future being future focused, future looking. Love it. Yeah. So for everyone else out there listening, here's the challenge for you. Before you invest in another technology, AI tool, software, or process improvement, you should ask yourself these three key questions. What attitudes need to change? What behaviors need to become consistent? And only then would you think what techniques will help scale those behaviors that you want to remain consistent, because that's what builds sustainable success in a business and that's what builds better financials. So, Tiffany, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today.
Thank you.
If our listeners want to learn more about you or your work, where can they connect with you?
You can go to my website, and I will send a link to the website. You can give me a call, 214-562-9328. My company's Growth Mindset Sales. I train the Sandler methodology. So I'll also post my email address.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Tiffany. And join us again on the next call, everyone. Bye for now.
Thanks.
Thanks for spending time in the Manufacturing Money Room. If this episode gave you something to think about, let us know. Drop Tolani a voice note or leave a comment or a review. And hey, if you like what you heard, share it with your friends. If you didn't like what you heard, share it with your enemies. You'll find the links in the show notes to connect with Tolani, and if you want to watch the episode on YouTube, that's there as well. Join us next time in the Manufacturing Money Room, where it's all about better numbers, better decisions, better manufacturing.